After an extremely impressive night from Brice Sensabaugh dropping 43 on my Chicago Bulls, this Utah Jazz team is one that I've been sort of wanting to talk about for a little bit now, with some emergences of their young players finally looking like they're starting to reach their full potential, and having a veteran in Lauri Markkanen whose value genuinely might not be getting any higher anytime soon. This Jazz team, I think, is on the precipice of being able to start building something special, but Danny Ainge has to be willing to pull the trigger. We have to talk about what has made this team start to look so special, and I think that all starts with the young point guard Keyonte George and frankly his elite breakout season. And the biggest thing that's helped out Keyonte George's game is simply becoming a more efficient player. Career highs in field goal, 3-point percentage, the volume has significantly increased, career high in assists. I think ultimately Keyonte has become a much better decision maker as a scorer as well. I'm going to pop up for you guys the accuracy and field goal percentage of these spots according to Clean the Glass. Keyonte has basically eliminated the rim shots. He always sort of has because of his size, but he's also greatly decreased the 3-point percentage of shots this year. So he's not shooting as many threes overall, if that makes sense. Like, his attempts are higher, but when you look at his total shot diet, he's moved towards the short mid and mid-range game in general, where he is 45%. That is elite. And again, I think Keyonte's ability to get to his spots and knowing his spots now and not trying to force spots has gotten significantly better. Does a great job here of working down slow to quick, keeps DeAndre Hunter, on his feet so he doesn't get the foul. And then you'll have moments like this, right? He's going to have to take some tough shots. He's on a team like the Jazz. That's ultimately what he's going to have to do. But I think his value overall, right, just like looking at how he reads Garland here and just gets right down to where he wants to go, I think is important. Watching the way that he's been able to play, right? Again, now you're at nearly the end of the shot clock, gets it out, just wants it right back, and just has the confidence to take the shot. I think his green light is there, but I think it's much more of an intelligent green light, if that makes sense. Now looking quickly at Keyonte George as a passer and a playmaker, right? I think Keontae's always been really good at being able to help others get to his spots. Again, he's just been on really rough teams overall, and guys have had down years, and then they're just hard to work with. But either way, does a great job there of keeping Jarrett Allen with him for the longest, because what he does is basically he gets his man to commit, but his eyes at first are still looking at the rim. So Jarrett Allen can't completely just go, I need to help the roll here. No, he needs to stay where he is and get it out gets it over to Nurkic, who can then get that little, float shot up. Again, just looking at the way he can operate in general, right? Gets the DHO sort of option here with Nurkic, waits, does a good job of getting then the cutting man, just going right downhill. Like, that's just high IQ basketball, right? And that's what happens when you have a coach like Will Hardy, right? And I even love like this idea of Markkanen coming off this little pin down, already turning, and again, Keyonte puts it in a spot to where he can just sort of keep rolling. So that way Markkanen can get downhill and get the and one. Again, as a passer and a playmaker, along with the scoring development now that teams have to actually respect his shot overall, I think has made Keyonte George dangerous and shows to the Utah Jazz that moves actually have to start being made to capitalize on some of this young talent. But now we must move to a guy who I think is going to ultimately have to be moved for that to happen, and that is Lauri Markkanen. And Lauri Markkanen, after already having an MIP season, all-star season just 3 years ago, and then getting that massive contract from Danny Ainge, has already managed to now have his best season of his career. His value will never be higher than it is right now. Just take a look at the way he's been able to efficiently score the ball here. Still pretty damn good from three, a great field goal shooter, and can get to the line consistently. A lot of contending teams, I think, would give up quite a lot to make this happen, right? Because Lauri's a great cut guy. He's good at backdoors. He can get you those spot, catch and shoot threes. A great job here, right? They run this little pin down action, get Lauri that wing shot, and again, who would not love a guy who can give you two really good perimeter scoring while also being good at the rim, right? He gives you two of the most fundamental levels while not necessarily needing the ball in his hands, which I think is what makes him so great, right? Is that he isn't this hyper ball dominant guy. He can play off of just about everybody they've got, and it wouldn't matter. Just the way that he can fight and play without the basketball, I think, can give a lot of value to certain players, right? Again, just by the way, mowed down Kobe White, but that's neither here nor there, right? Waits for Buzelis to come down and then can get a piece of the layup. Ultimately, Lauri Markkanen, right, is a legitimate scorer that I think on a championship contender, let's say like an OKC, he could probably be your second scoring option. to even third, right? If you want to say J-Dub or Chet, whoever you would have to move to get Lauri money-wise, what Lauri Markkanen can bring you without the basketball as a scorer, as a perimeter threat, as a off-ball mover, I think is nothing short of, extremely, extremely valuable. That is going to help this team start to make a move in the right direction, right? Great job kicking out to Lauri. Again, just that catch and shoot ability, right? It doesn't matter the stakes. He's going to give you, and he'll give you big nights, right? Like, he'll have moments like this. He does get the ball in his hands. Does a good job of waiting on Io. Breaks him down, gets that little push to then start to get the spin and rises over. And at that point, all Io can do is kind of get a hand in the face. But at that point, you get that nice fadeaway shot and things can continue to get moving. Even with moments like this, he gets a little screen down from Nurk, gets the kick over, and again, can just get the shot up nice and easy for a tray ball. What he's been able to do has been nothing short of ridiculous, but he has to go if this team wants to continue to. Brice Sensabaugh had himself the game of his career. I mean, the dude dropped 43 on hyper efficient scoring, right? Great catch and shoot shooter. And you might be wondering, well, Emster, why are we getting to him last? Because I think his play today sort of, I think, highlights a point in general that this team needs to get veteran presence that isn't someone like a Lauri, right, who's trying, I feel like, to get his value so that he can go somewhere else, right? Even has been able to play with more opportunity. I went ahead and did some stats for you guys, and then I wondered, what was Brice Sensabaugh numbers look like? Like, let's say when he hit 30 minutes a game, what was his overall stat line looking like without the outlier? He was averaging 14, 4, and 3 on 46 from the field, 26 from 3, right? And 68 from the line. So about 56% true shooting. But either way, I think the point stands. That's still significantly better than when you look at his normal season averages overall, where he's only averaging like 11, right? So he's gotten you almost 3 to 4 more points in production with more time. And then if you add the efficiency in this game in general, right, he's giving you about 18 points per game. Now, I think realistically, he can fall to about 15 to 16. But I think that when you look at the way he scores, right, it's similar to a Lauri Markkanen. He's not necessarily needing the ball. He's good at getting to his specific spots of going either downhill to the rim or being a good catch and shoot guy. He's not meant to be this hyper ball handler, even like we just sort of see in this clip here, right? That's not necessarily his role, but that's just one of those things in the NBA you're going to see. A guy has a hot hand. Yeah, he's going to make a play. But you look at the way he likes to play. He does a good job here getting the screen from Filipowski. Waits, gets that shrug off. But I think ultimately the way that he plays, ultimately Brice Sensabaugh has made a move that can really help change this team's trajectory today. Because I think it shows to Danny Ainge that he has legitimate young talent that you can help call a core and that you can build around. But that comes to the whole point of this video. So ultimately, this is a team that when I did my rebuild report on them in the offseason, I was actually pretty high on. Not that they were going to make some crazy push or anything like that, but I thought they were going to be a semi-competitive, maybe try and get that last playoff spot, which they are. I think they're only about a game or two behind the Clippers and the Mavs, and then they're close to that 10 seed. And they're not bottom out. They're not close to a team like the Pelicans. They're not close to these teams like the Wizards or, the Pacers and all that. But I think it's become evidently clear that this team has a legitimate need to get vet presence and bring those guys on to help build a culture to the team. So when for example, the Rockets brought on Fred, they brought on Steven Adams, right? They brought on dudes that know how to ground their players to build a sense of identity and culture and not just sort of let's just go out there and play basketball and hope for something greater. I think with Will Hardy at the helm, right, as their coach, I think that he's a great coach, right? There's the viral clip of him screaming, "We need effort. I'm not doing this anymore," right, of these low effort nights or whatever. Ultimately, I think that their young core has become clear to me. Keontae George and Walker Kessler are that core. I think those two bare minimum have to be. Walker Kessler is a legitimate defensive anchor. He has shown, before he got hurt, I know he only played 5 games, but he was showing like, I'm back. Like, I'm here, I'm aggressive, I want to play, I want to be. Again, the dude was giving you 2 blocks a game, a steal and a half nearly. The dude could give you something great, and he's a good rim protector, which in this league can mean, ask Utah and Minnesota how well getting Rudy Gobert helped their franchise for the future. Well, I guess in Utah's case, you had him, so Keontae George, 22 years old, having an MIP caliber year, significantly improved across the board. The only thing you maybe worry about is turnovers. But then you might wonder, well, Emster, who's the third guy? Well, the third guy could be a combination of anybody. It could be Brice Sensabaugh, who I think with 30 minutes a game is giving about 3 to 4 more points than usual. The 3-point percentage does go down, but the field goal percentage jumps up. Ultimately, in this stretch, right, like Brice is going to be a big part of this team's future. I even talked about that in my video. Ace Bailey could be that guy. He's looked decent in stretches, right? He's growing, having that rookie growth. But I think if you trade Lauri Markkanen, but Danny Ainge is so adamant on, like, basically, unless he can fleece you, he doesn't want to make his trade. Unless he's getting a Brooklyn haul for Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce, or what he thought he had when he traded Donovan Mitchell, he is not going to make that move. I think that's killing this team's momentum. I think if you traded Lauri Markkanen and you gave him to a team like the Thunder, if you asked a team like the Spurs, what do you want? And you got back either picks or young talent to help build around, or you even then go, we'll take on a Harrison Barnes. We'll bring on I don't even know who you want to say for OKC, but you get my point, right? Like, if they brought on a good player, but who's been around the league, who has won championships, who has been in that culture and been in that locker room and can bring that sense of identity from a player, this whole team can be drastically better. So I think if you're Utah and you want to capitalize and you want this young talent to really get their chance, Lauri Markkanen has to go, and or you have to move on from Danny Ainge and be willing to finally make a move to help spur this team along, because I think you have the point guard in the center of the future. Now it's just a question of, can you get the draft capital or whatnot? Like, imagine if this team ends up getting AJ DeBonsta. I think no matter what, this team can beat something special. They just need to be willing to finally put their feet on the ground and start to build something with the young talent, so you're not just floundering in the bottom and never going to be able to see the light of day. So let me know what you guys think about the Utah Jazz, what you thought of Brice Sensabaugh last night, what this team can do in the future. Do you agree with my assessment that Lauri has to go? Do you disagree? Do you think Danny Ainge is part of the problem? As always, guys, this was Emster No Hoops. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Have a beautiful rest of your day, guys. Peace out.